I'm a little earlier than usual tonight, guys. I usually go on at 9 East Coast, but Mama got some business later. So I wanted to get you guys in early. Pause. How are you? How are you? It's only 4 o'clock where I am, but it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And I wanted to get this show in because I think it's important, especially on the heels of the show we had yesterday, Derek Jackson versus Kevin Samuels. Okay. I hear a sentiment and a narrative constantly parroted in the YouTube streets and outside in the world. And I wanted to address it. And I'm really hoping I have some gentlemen come up today and some new ladies. Keep your fingers crossed. But I would like the guys to talk about their experience with women and how men can relate to the modern woman who seems to be a thorn in everyone's side. That evil modern woman of today. So welcome, guys. New subbies, people are just scrolling. Hi, people that have been here. My moderators will hold me down in the chat. How are you doing this evening? Let's take care of some business. I am on the block with Jen on all social media platforms. TikTok, if you're into TikTok and you want to see my reels, and I dance a jig every now and then. TikTok, Instagram, where you can see behind the scenes of my life, what I look like head to toe, my gigs, my work, shit like that. On the block with Jen on Instagram. If you want to support the show, please hit me in the super chat. It's the little dollar sign on the bottom of where you throw in all your retorts and rebuttals and contradictions and BS right there, right next to it. Why not throw in a super chat with the BS, right? If you don't want to do the super chat and you want me to get all the dollars, hit me right there. You see that thing scrolling? You see it scrolling? There it is. It's on the block with Jen as well. My Cash App is also on the block with Jen. So I'm very, very easy to contact and find. Speaking of which, if you want to Gmail me, I'm also at on the block with Jen at Gmail, specifically for suggestions. It's like a suggestion box. If you want to talk about a collaboration or an interview, on the block with Jen at Gmail. If you have a gripe with me, on the block with Jen at Gmail. Okay, that it's not a dating site. It is a suggestion box, and I discuss the show in there. If you want to send me a suggestion for a topic or something you'd like me to dissect the only way I can, then right there on the block with Jen at Gmail. Let's get this party started. What's up, No Saint? What's up, Richie Luxury? What's up, Jay Savage? Are you going to have a savage weekend, Jay? Are you going to have a savage weekend? All right. I hope you're not using that term loosely. All right. I hope you're a savage for real because it sounds good, but are you really? Huh? All right, then, guys. So let's get started with a little bit of let's get the good news, bad news. Let's get the bad news out the way. As you guys know, DJ Twitch, unfortunately, the dancer DJ, Ellen's guy over there on the Ellen show, when it was the Ellen show, he did take his life on Monday. And they found out he did leave a suicide note. So hopefully that will make all the speculation and all of that. People are saying it's foul play. People are saying that he didn't do it. He didn't want to do it. And it's suspicious. Maybe he was in financial ruin. Maybe he was about to get a divorce. There's so much speculation because there's so many voices online. He did leave a suicide note. The family has it. So now they know why he did what he did. According to TMZ, the suicide note does say, he does speak on things that he has battled in the past. Okay. So, his family has that note. Now, whether or not they're going to share that with the public, I don't know. I wouldn't share it if that was my loved one, but I don't know what his family wants to do or what they want his legacy to be, or if they want his death to not be in vain and help someone else. I do not know. I'm not expecting to see that note, and I don't think we should expect to see that note. We don't have to know everything. I understand morbid curiosity. I have morbid curiosity myself, but I think some things we should just leave alone. Moving on from that, honey, you guys know I'm from New York. Today, New York, the biggest warehouse that held the most evidence for the NYPD in New York has burnt down to a crisp. I don't know about y'all, but I thought that was some major news and bad news for anyone who had evidence in there that can exonerate someone. So let me tell you, in New York City, in Brooklyn, the biggest warehouse where evidence was held, files, paperwork, DNA, bicycles, cars, went up in flames today. They had 30 years of evidence in that warehouse, burnt to a crisp. No one was killed, but people were hurt. 2 firefighters were seriously injured. There are a lot of survivors, but no one has lost their life in there. But damn, 30 years of evidence down the drain, okay, including DNA. So if there was any evidence in there that can exonerate someone who didn't do it, because not everybody in prison did it. I know it's a joke, but not everybody in prison did that shit. Most people have, but not everybody. So I just feel horrible for anyone that may have had evidence in there that could save them from doing life in prison. And you know, our judicial system is not exactly fair, is it? So I just feel, I feel terrible. 30 years of evidence burnt down to a freaking crisp. Absolutely horrible. So how's your day going, guys? Yeah, I thought that was totally horrible. In other celebrity news, I'm not doing a celebrity monologue tonight because we're all pressed for time. It is Friday. Yeah, it is Friday. We have things to do, so I'm not going to keep you long. But I did think it was interesting that Nick Cannon finally said that he feels bad about having 11 children going on 12. Nick Cannon is expecting his 12th child. But he did say that now he feels bad that he's not able to spend as much time as he should with those 11 children. And that is what happens when you know what I mean, use your penis with abandon, and everyone you come across gets a child, right? So it's one thing if he had them all under one roof, which still would result in some children getting neglected, because 11 kids is, it's hard to keep track of 11 kids. You got birthdays and recitals and all kinds of things. And also his children are all basically the same age, roundabouts. So you have to think there are going to be graduations for multiple children happening at the same time. First time walking is going to be happening at the same time. You know what I mean? Birthdays is going to be happening around the same time. So he can't be everywhere. He can't be everywhere, which is why I thought what he was doing was very, very silly. Now, a lot of people congratulated him and applauded him. And they're like, yay, go Nick Cannon, have all them black babies, bring black babies. Yeah, because so many black babies are aborted. Go ahead, subdue the earth and fill it and blah, blah, blah. But really, when you break it down, it's fucked up, because those kids are not going to have their father the way they should have their father, right? It's all fun and games, and it makes great memes, but it's really fucked up for the kids. They're not going to have their dad there. They'll have plenty of money, but then there's that, right? Also, Brittany Griner broke her silence. I love the drama when they use that line. Don't you love when they use that line? Broke her silence, as if the person was somewhere in some remote island for 50 years and then finally they burst out and broke their silence. So whatever. According to the captions on social media, Brittany Griner broke her silence, basically thanking everybody and saying that she is going to play in the WNBA. I bet she won't be back to Russia, but she'll be playing here for America, and good for her. Great for her. She also said that she's going to work diligently to get Paul Whelan out. Do I believe it? Nah. I mean, will she sign her name to certain things? Will she post every now and then, get Paul Whelan out? But is she going to be boots on the ground trying to get Paul Whelan back? Nah, I don't know. Let's wait and see. Brittany's wife also said, we're going to fight to get all the Americans back out of Russia. Nah, we'll see. We'll see what they do now that Brittany is home and everybody's happy. We'll see what happens moving forward. But Brittany won't be going back to Russia. She will be playing here. And I'm sure she'll make lots and lots of money going on a publicity tour. I'm sure she'll drop some books and interviews. She's going to do okay. She's probably going to make more money now, right, than prior the Russian enjailment, right? Is that a word, enjailment? Well, so happy she's home. Great, whatever, yay or nay. I don't know if you guys care either way. I don't. It's whatever. I mean, I'm glad she's home, I guess. I guess her wife is happy. But, moving on. Also, which is going to be a great segue for tonight's episode, Tristan Thompson settles his paternity case with his side chick. Okay, you know, Tristan Thompson is famously, yes, we know he plays for the NBA, but it's so much more important that he knocked up a Kardashian. This is America. It really is more important that you knocked up a Kardashian than it is that you have a whole career. Who wants to talk about your career when you knocked up a Kardashian? Anyway, Tristan Thompson does have a child or two or three. I don't know, with Khloe Kardashian. You guys could correct me in the chat if it's just two, if it's just one. I don't know. But I do know that Tristan Thompson did have a child with Khloe Kardashian. I'm not sure if it's two. I know for sure it's one. And he did have a couple side chicks, as most athletes do, as most NBA players do. If you're going to get with an athlete, you already know you're going to be one of many, okay? What's up, Reese from Philly? Haven't seen you in a while. So his side baby just settled. Of course, when he found out she was pregnant, of course, he went through the rigmarole of, no, don't have it, get an abortion. And then, no, I'll pay you some money if you don't have that kid. But the side chicks, okay, are not going to do that because this is the come up. This is like the retirement plan for groupies, right? So if you're going to be stupid enough to stick your penis in anything with a fat ass, then you deserve all the child support you have to pay. But let's not worry about his pockets. Tristan got some money, okay? Tristan Thompson got some money. Don't fret. Don't fret. Don't get mad. Don't flash back to what your ex-wife did to you. Tristan got some money, okay? So let's hear the number. Let's get a drum roll. How much do you think he's paying this side chick for that side baby? Yeah, ready? $9,500 a month. Every 30 days, $9,500 a month to raise that side baby. Yay! Congratulations, side chick. You won, right? Who says side chicks aren't winning? Remember back in the day when people used to make fun of side chicks, like, he's never going to leave his wife for you. I don't think they care. I think $9,500 makes up for the guy not leaving Khloe Kardashian, right? And now this woman is forever attached to the Kardashians. That was an easy come up, and all she had to do was spread them. You see how easy it is for women? But guys are always saying how women aren't winning and how women are this and how women are that. So let's segue into the topic tonight, and let's get some people up here, okay? I'm going to drop the link. I did email some people already. I'm going to drop the link. All righty. There goes the link in case you want to come up while I am segueing into the topic. So the topic tonight, let me show you again for those of you just tuning in and did not see the thumbnail. The topic tonight. This is the topic. Are men coping badly with modern women? Are men coping badly with the modern woman? And you guys know I'm very dramatic with my thumbnails, and I like illustrating for you exactly what the topic is. Are men coping badly with the modern woman? There goes a gentleman, very, very upset, like many men I've seen on social media, and a woman on the side with her hands up like, whatever. Even though the man is calling her a hoe, for the streets, hit the wall, you single, right? All with exclamation points, because that's how passionate these men are about calling women out of their name, trying to diminish them, trying to bring them down, right? But we're not here to bash men. We're here to try to relate to what they're saying, right? And maybe I'll have some gentlemen come up that will help these guys relate to the modern woman, because the modern woman is a whole different animal from the Betty Crockers that used to stay home barefoot, baking pies and having babies. The modern woman is a whole other animal, a whole different world. It's the new world order. Now, back in the day, you know, during the Scarlet Letter times and the times where you can shame a woman, you hoe, you slut, you for the streets, nobody wants you. After 35, you're a leftover. You're going to die alone with a cat. Those days are long gone. Those are the days of old. The modern woman doesn't give two fucks what your opinion is. at all. The modern woman is doing very, very well, very, very boisterous, confident, okay, in full control of her body, her mind, and her pussy, okay, and decides who to give it to whenever and doesn't give a rat's ass that you guys are yelling into your cams. You hoe, you for the streets. You gonna die alone. You're a slut. You got friendly vagina. Like, women don't care anymore. So are men coping badly? Because this isn't just like conversation. You've seen these guys come up. You've seen the comments, okay? You've seen the videos. You've seen the posts. There are a lot of memes, a lot of comments, and a lot of posts dedicated to bringing women down, specifically the modern woman. To me, it's a loss of control. Just my opinion. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong, of course. But I feel like it's a loss of control. Men are losing control of something. Back in the day, it was very easy to control a woman by saying, you don't want to be a slut, do you? Very easy. A woman would cower and say, oh my God, I don't want to be the slut of the high school. I don't want to be the slut of the neighborhood. Now there are slut walks where all the women parade down the street with Amber Rose and G-strings and say, I'm a slut too. So they took the trigger and the power out of those words that men are calling them. So every now and then men remix, right? Trying to diminish the modern woman, right? Before it was slut, you whore, you hoe, you for the streets. Nobody's every year they remix how to tell a woman that she shouldn't be promiscuous, that she should not give her vagina to whoever she wants. Bad woman, bad. And every couple months, men, okay, very creative guys are. I'll give it to you. Very, very creative. You can no longer say ho or typo. So now it's the 304. That's how creative men are. And that's how dedicated they are to letting a woman know that she's a hoe. They're like, damn it, I can't say it on social media. I got to think of something. How can we spell this so these women know that they're hoes? I have to let women know that they're hoes. How do I do it? Eureka, 304. If we turn it backwards and spin it around, it'll say ho. And whenever I type 304, that woman's gonna feel like shit. Yeah, that's what guys are thinking. That's what we've come to, people. That is what men are thinking. They have to get that word in there, because if they don't get that word in there, god damn it, these women won't know that they're shit, right? So again, fast forward, women don't give a fuck anymore, right? So if you can't beat them, join them, or completely disengage, right? There's only two choices. So are there still men out there that want to relate to women? Are there still men out there that want to put their guns down and wave the white flag and say, look, I was only kidding. I don't care what you guys do with your vagina. I still enjoy vagina. So I still want to get vagina. So how can I relate to you better? How can I be a nicer human being? Can we talk about that tonight? Will some men come up and talk to other men that may be watching who use those words? Ho, for the street, you a slut. Nobody wants you. You hit the wall. You single. That's why you single. That's why you single. Because I think saying to a woman she's single or whatever, I don't know, it's supposed to like make her feel less than like, oh my God, nobody wants me. Well, let me tell you this. An inanimate object, if you attach a vagina to it, it will get action. So imagine a living, breathing woman. She doesn't even have to look like much. All she has to do is have a functioning vagina, a vagina that's lukewarm and can produce some sort of moistness. That's really all women need. Although men will have you think that it has to come with extra shit, right? But that's really not the case. Anything with a vagina can pretty much get laid forever. Now, whether or not that vagina is attached to a woman that wants a ring, that's another issue, because a lot of women don't want rings anymore. And now that men don't have that to hold over women, they're losing control. So they're getting more and more vitriolic online. They're finding really fancy ways to call women hoes and sluts. But now that the women are not caring in abundance and it's getting worse and worse and worse for men, because there's really not a word you're ever going to invent that's going to penetrate like it used to. Women don't give a fuck about scarlet letters anymore. Women don't give a fuck about you trying to shame them about their sexual practices or how often they have sex or who they have sex with. So what is a man to do now? Now that he has been disarmed from every word he can call a woman with a friendly vagina, what is a man to do? Thank you, Tristan, for the super chat. Tristan said the Karenacity of these men. Yes, that's exactly what it is, the Karenacity. And I love how Tristan gave me a $3.04 super chat, which spells hoe. Okay. And also, he knows I don't do $2 super chat. So thank you, Tristan. Love you always. But it is hilarious because 304, like I said, if you turn it around, right? And any one of us who had a beeper or a pager back in the day. Yes, I'm showing my age and give 0 fucks. But if you had a beeper or a pager back in the day, you know, we used to communicate and spell words out with the numbers, right? We would say hello and love and besos in Spanish, which was like 83505. If you turned it around, it said besos, and we said things like hello. 07734 turned around as hello, right? So I guess, you know, that's why I'm guessing the 304 had to have come from an older man, because these young kids don't know anything about spelling and beepers with numbers and flipping it around, which goes to show how pathetic it really is that some old fuck was sitting somewhere like, how do we call these women hoes without getting banned on social media? I know, 304. So let's get some people up here and see what they think. Hopefully some guys will come up. I need some testosterone on the panel today, because guys are the ones that have the answers for other guys. I don't have the answers for other guys. I have fucking suggestions, but I don't have the answers. I don't have a penis. Although in the next life, I want one. Okay? You guys have a lot of fun. What's up, Glenn?
Yo, what's going on?
What is going on? You look good. You look like you just came off a set. What's going on over there?
Oh, just doing a little bit of work, some stuff, a little bit of things here, projects.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. You got finished out the year strong, pilot season and all that
shit. Yep. I mean, I got a couple things in the can right now that I'm working on. So
good.
Yeah. So okay, let's get into it.
Let's freaking get into it, man. This is the freaking thumbnail. Are men coping badly with the modern woman? What advice do we have for these guys? First of all, do you think that they're coping badly? Do you think that they're spazzing on these machines talking about what a woman shouldn't be and why they can't deal?
I think honestly, to a degree, men are acting like women.
Oh. Wait a minute, is that an insult to us?
I mean, you could take it, it's the truth. I mean, you could take it as an insult if you like, but we hear about all the Karens, right? We know what a Karen is. They go online, they yell, they cry, they bitch and moan. They're complaining. They want to talk to your manager, like they're writing a letter, and to a degree, that's what these guys are behaving like, But see, I think there's a difference between calling something out for what it is, and being in your feelings and both bitching and moaning and complaining about something, right? So, like for instance, if a girl is known for being easy and she let the whole team smash, she's a hoe. Like, she's a hoe. She's not the one you bring home to mom.
Is that what you deem a hoe? She just wants to like fuck around.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, well, technically, if she's selling it, then it's a little more different as a prostitute. But I'm just saying, like, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking at it as if you're looking for pair bonding or long-term investment in a relationship, it's scientifically proven. I could pull it up the stats right now that people that with a high body count tend to have a harder time pair bonding because of the chemical reaction that happens to the brain each time you have sex with a new individual. It doesn't allow it to pair bond, so your brain has to remap itself to establish this new thing. So since that's proven, and we know that if a girl does have a high body count, then you should know, like, oh, she might be not a great bet in a long-term investment.
Okay.
You know, she might just be a good booty call or a friend, you know, friend with benefits to keep on the side. And that's fine. But the problem is these guys, you know how girls used to think that I could change him. Like I could fix him. Right? Guys are doing the same thing. Like I get it, she a hoe, but you know what? I'm this high value guy. I got this, I got that. I got that Tristan take money. You know what I'm saying? I could change. I'm that Nick Cannon. I could get these girls, you know, oh God, yes. She's generous for all the people that can't get her. But it's like, you know, like they think that because their status, since they leveled up, that they could level up women with them. And the problem is you're not supposed to be trying to level up women. All right. When you level up, you just get with the women that are already leveled up. Don't try to bring the girl that's from the bottom up. So I think it's a little bit, yes, they're bitching and moaning, and they don't know how to handle modern women. But also I think at the same time, it's like maybe some of the stuff that they're saying is the truth, and women are just upset about it and they don't want to hear the truth.
Okay, well, you know, or maybe you don't. You know how I feel about the truth, right? Everybody has it.
No, there's only one version of it.
No, there's not, Glenn.
No, yes, there is. There's only one version of the truth.
Yeah. No, Glenn. The truth is it's like art. Everybody has a different version of it. Everybody, especially in these spaces. If we just we're talking about these spaces and we stay in these spaces, the truth is different to everyone, because you may say something about women that has nothing to do with me, and you'll say that's the truth, and I'm like, well, that's not my experience. No, so that's what I mean about the truth.
The truth is this. Look, there's only one version of the truth. Now, what people decide how they want to twist it and turn it and spin it to fit their narrative, that's on them. But that doesn't make it true. That makes it a half truth, or more likely a lie. Okay, because if anything is half a truth, then it's a half a lie. So if it's half a lie, then it's a lie. Okay.
So this is how I categorize the truth, right? If I drank your bottle of wine, and then you tell me, did you drink it? And I'm like, no, I didn't drink it. I only drank half. And I'm like, but I drank it. Then that's a fucking lie. That's not the truth. But categorizing women a certain type of way because of your belief system is not the truth. It's an opinion.
Well, what people, okay, when you're speaking in generalities, when you're speaking generally,
is like that
this, here's the thing. Here's a general statement. All women generally could have babies. They could get a dick put in them, nutted, and a baby could come out. All women generally can have babies. Is that not a truth?
Yes.
Okay, but you know what? Some women cannot have babies. Some women cannot, you know, they don't have, you know, the things that work to make the babies come out.
Correct.
So their oven is broken. So since, you know, that's not true to them, that's not right. But no, correct. Generally speaking, your body, the things you do, who you are, how you were born, whatever, the genitalia you have was designed for you to have a baby. Okay, so that's the truth. But when a woman that can't have a baby goes, well, that's not my truth. My truth is I don't have babies. I can't make babies. That's my truth. Well, it doesn't make it untrue. What I'm saying in a general statement that you can reproduce and have babies. That's what you were designed to do. That's where I'm saying generally, when you speak generally, like it's okay to make those blanket statements when it involves the majority of this group behaves this way or can do these things. That's fine. But when people individualize it, like that's not my truth. Well, it's still the truth overall.
Okay, it sounds like we're saying the same thing, and then we're not. So let's get into the modern woman, right? You know me and definitions. Quick Google search. What's a modern woman? A modern woman is anyone who is living in the now, who questions, who asks, who challenges, who stands up for her rights and for others. I think it's just as important to say no as what you say yes to. Modern women basically are new women who are not having it. They're not having it. They're not cowering to men's opinions. They're making their own money. They're having children if they feel like it. They're not getting married if they feel like it. They're not having children if they feel like it. That's basically the modern woman. And what I see on social media is lots and lots of men who are still trying to control those women with words and with shaming, quote unquote. You're a hoe. You're for the streets. You're X, Y, and Z. Modern women are not giving a fuck. They have slut parades. They no longer care. So what advice would you give to a man, and any gentleman on the panel can answer this, what advice would you give to a man now who doesn't know how to deal with this new animal, this modern woman who no longer cares about being shamed about what she does with her body, her mind, her money, or her vagina?
Well, guys need to realize that they are playing with the old set of rules. Okay? That the rules that they have, like the textbook that they're using, is outdated and no longer considered valid, right? Because modern women do not need men the way that they previously had to need men in the generations before. So what guys need to realize is that regardless whether or not society is telling you that you still got to play by these old rules, you need to discard that textbook and watch the textbook that's now being written. Learn from what's now being out there. Stop reflecting on the past and how things used to be and how things should be, or what, that shit, that's old. That doesn't matter. It's irrelevant now. Regardless of how you were raised or whatever, that is irrelevant, because women are not playing by those set of rules that they used to play by. They said, you know what? We're done with this rule book. Toss it out. We're writing our own rules. And they started doing that. Now, what you got to do as a guy is be aware of that and move accordingly. Be able to be responsive in a way that benefits you. Because that's what they're doing. They're being responsive in a way that benefits them. It's different now. It's in a sense, it's like the Wild Wild West. It's lawless. My biggest issue, and I said this in another podcast, and it was talking about like body count and hookup culture, right? And how people think hookup culture is a bad thing, and that like men are perpetuating hookup culture. And when you look at the statistics and the facts of it, it's like only like the 4.5% of all men are in hookup culture. That's like the top tier guys, like the Tristan Tates. Those are like the the ballers that all the girls are trying to get with. Only 4.5 of them are in this hookup culture, but 100% of single women are in the hookup culture. So it's like, who's really perpetuating it? It's women. So what we're doing is like in the old set of rules, they wanted to, in a way, discard women's accountability or responsibility to things for choices. And it's like, we hear these people say, like, we blame the guy, like, oh, it's the guy's fault. It's the guy's fault. And to some degree, that's true. But what we tend to be doing, and especially right now, is that we want to remove the accountability of responsibility. We want to remove those two things when it comes to women's actions. So if a woman does have a high body count and she did hoe herself out, you can't say that. Don't you even say that, because by saying that, you're trying to shame her and attack her. Well, if by definition that's what she's doing, that's who she is, let's call a spade a spade. Okay, if you are a drug addict and you're doing drugs all the damn time, and you have a needle in your vein, with heroin in it, I'm going to call you a drug addict. Okay, like that's what it is. But nobody wants to be accountable for what they say or do anymore, and that's the
problem. I think the problem is, this is the problem, right? Because I don't see a problem with men having friendly penis, and I don't see a problem with women having friendly vagina. I really don't. So it's not so much that people don't want to be held accountable, is that you want to put a negativity when women do it. That's the problem that women have. Not that you're saying you sleep without a lot of men, but if women could sleep with a lot of men and not have a bunch of gorillas tell them you're a hoe, then they would be free with the information that, yes, I sleep around. This is my body count. Who gives a fuck? I'm just like you, dude. Right?
But that's not the case, though. When you look at how it affects the individual differently, like men and women get affected by high body counts differently, scientifically speaking. Okay, so when you see how it affects people differently, then it's not the same. We're not a blank slate. We're not equal
How scientifically how?
So again, like I said earlier, like women that have a high body count tend to have a struggle with the more difficult time pair bonding, meaning getting into long-term relationships in the long run, right? Guys don't necessarily, the science has not proven that guys have that same problem. Now, it does affect guys as well, but it doesn't affect them in the sense of pair bonding. It doesn't affect them in the sense of wanting to be in a relationship and stay in a relationship. Women, when they have sex with or have a high body count, have a harder time pair bonding. And if you look at the breakdown of, a guy could cheat on his wife and still love his wife, want to be married to her, not want to break up the family, whatever. A woman, when she cheats on her husband, more than likely, she's ready to walk away. She's already checked out mentally. She's done with the relationship and she's ready to leave. And that's why you see that in the divorce statistics when it comes to infidelity and who has it and what happens afterwards. Relationships that happen to have the male commit infidelity tend to have had a higher success rate at structuring that marriage and saving that marriage. The ones with the woman having the divorce rate or infidelity, the marriages and dissolve. They're done.
Okay, so before I want to pass the mic, but before I pass the mic, I don't want to leave out the huge pink, wet, juicy elephant in the room. And that is that, let's not ignore that women feel bad about sleeping around because society and men have told her it's a bad thing. Before we get to the science, before we get to the pair bonding, because some women don't give a fuck about a pair bonding. They want their money.
Now they do. But look at Mia Khalifa. Mia Khalifa was Mia Khalifa, the porn star, right? She went out and she did all her porn things and she had no problem with it. But now she's going around doing this tour trying to say, like, she only made a little bit of money and that she didn't, like, she's trying to diminish what she actually did. Same thing with Lana Rhoades, the porn star, who is wanting to get her porn taken down on sites because she doesn't want her future kids to see what she did. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, wait a minute. You had no problem when you were doing it before. When you were taking, 15 guys in a movie, all in all your holes, you had no problem with it. You got paid out for that. But now that you have to live with the consequences, like that's what you're known for, you have an issue? It's like,
but again, hear what you just said. That's what you're known for. It's negative to be known for that. And men made it.
Why is it negative? Because a guy.
Because men made it that way.
No. It's only negative. Listen, it's negative when it's a guy. If you were a porn star and you got like 100 bodies on you or 1,000 bodies on you, and then you retire, and then you meet me, and we're kicking it, whatever, we start dating, and I find out that you're a porn star, and I go, oh no, I'm good, and I move on. You're saying that's negative. It's for what? For me judging your past? Like that we judge people based off their past.
Because if you met a man who slept with 1,000 women and he was a porn star, you'd pat him on the back. You'd ask him how good it was sliding in and out of pussy. I do not want to ignore. Let's not ignore. We're all adults here. Let's not ignore that men put that on women. If you sleep with 100,000 men, you are finished. You're no good. Your vagina stinks. And if a man does it, you're praising him. That's a big factor in how women view promiscuity and sleeping around. Let's not ignore that.
We don't have to ignore that. That's why me pointing to the body count is so important, is because we don't have to ignore it. We have to give you the reason why for it. Why does guys have an issue with that? Because point back to pair bonding, it doesn't work for women when they do that. So it's like, it's not like it's a preference. It's like, why have a woman that has a high, why would you buy a car that has high mileage? Why would you get with a woman that has a high body count when you know the outcome typically is a problem?
Here's the thing, and then I really want to pass the mic, but here's the thing. The majority of men don't know a fuck about a pair bonding. Okay, let's start there. Men are not looking for, like, hey, let's pair bond. Men are looking to get laid. Sometimes they're looking to get married. They're not thinking about pair bonding. But before the pair bonding, before that conversation even happens, if they hear a woman slept around, oh my God, you slept around, you're a slut, you're a hoe, that's automatic, because that is the reputation women get when they sleep around. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. We're still talking about fucking body counts and going into 2023. It's still a thing.
Well, body counts are always going to be a thing. That's always going to be a thing. It's never going to go
Yeah,
anywhere.
but it's gonna be a thing. Men are getting left behind because women don't give a fuck no more. And long as a woman has a vagina, there's even Mia Khalifa, because Mia Khalifa, matter of fact, was with some reggaeton singer. She has a boyfriend or whatever.
No, I
Even
think she's
Mia Khalifa
divorced.
is gonna get a boyfriend.
Yep.
Well, yes, they are, but are they going to get? They're going to get attention. Every girl with any body with a vagina is going to get attention. All right, that's just what it is. But it's going to be the quality. What type of quality?
I mean,
Do
they're
you want
porn
quantity
stars.
or quality?
There are porn. That's the thing. Stop assuming that women want this white knight to come out of the sky and save them. There are porn stars who are married to men who run companies together. It's not just
but those are, again, they're few and far in between.
Okay, I want to pass the mic. Great point with the pair bonding, Glenn. Who else wants to say something?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Nosy.
Yeah. So I listen. This whole what do they call it? The what do you say? The culture? I forgot what culture he said he called it. Where the hookup culture.
Yeah.
That's not a new thing. What do you think they were doing in the 70s? That was total 60s and 70s.
No, 70s
Total. And nobody, and you know what? The people at the time didn't care. Like, it was the norm. I totally agree with Jen as far as it being men making it a negative thing. There are plenty of guys out there that could find out that Mia Khalifa was a porn star and it wouldn't matter to them. And I think she's right on when she says, like, when you're dating a girl, I'm not thinking, hell, I wonder how many partners and if she's going to be able to pair bond with me. I mean, it may cause problems, Glenn. I'm not saying it might not. You might be 100% correct, or whatever scientific study you're making reference to might be correct. I just don't think guys are thinking that way. I think the reason guys say, oh, she's a slut, I think the real reason is because we know that if we don't shame women into not sleeping around, that they'll be able to do it better than we can do it. That's just the truth. That's the honest truth. We know that they have much more success. As you're saying, there's like the top 4% of the guys that are hooking up culture or whatever, because it's a lot harder for a guy to hook up with a girl because the woman has the control. So I think that's the reason that men, religion, from as far back as I remember, wanted to corral that. They want to make sure they can control the woman, because if she gets off on her own, she's going to have you 10-1 in partners and bodies, as we say. And I think that's that's my opinion. I think that's the real reason.
Who else wants to Brother Ish, Haran? What's
There's nothing wrong with no home, man. When everybody has a function. There's certain days when I want to spend some time with a woman who's free, and there's certain times when I don't want to spend time with such a woman. Comes down to compartmentalization. Everybody is not built for marriage. Everybody isn't marriage material. I'm not looking to marry everybody. I'm not looking to pair with everybody. Maybe I just want someone who just is good for a couple of nights, or somebody I just check out with for a weekend or two. And I'll be looking for a particular kind of girl who is more susceptible to doing that. If I'm looking for a solid relationship, if I'm looking to build something, if I'm looking to, move forward, I'm going to look for a woman who fits my criteria in that space. I think a lot of times we need to understand and respect the fact that, look, man, different people for different things. All right, women understand that. They got boyfriend material, they got weekend dick, they understand, boyfriend dick, vacation dick, cheating dick, they understand, all these different things, and men need to understand and accept the fact that, yeah, there's different kinds of women in different kinds of situations. All right. Personally speaking, no one's ever going to, if you want to call them loose, if you want to refer to them as 304s, Okay, but you'll never be able to stop their existence, and you'll never be able to shame them into stop doing what they do. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my whole overall outlook on the whole thing, I'm not as passionate about that subject as a lot of other men are. I'm not, because if I'm looking for a particular kind of woman, I'm going to look for a particular kind of woman. That's
So what do
it.
you think, Haran? So I want to ask you, of course my thumbnail is in jest, but why do you think men are this passionate where they're saying these things to women? Why do these men feel so strongly about it? Why are they so vitriolic about it? And what is the end goal? Like, are they trying to shame women back down to back in the scarlet letter days and things like that? What's the end goal? Is it bitterness? Is it control? They're losing control. And when people lose control, they get more violent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a control thing. I think a lot of it is a control thing. I think a lot of brothers can't compete. You know what I mean? A lot of brothers can't compete with certain things. So their first go-to is violence, rather than sitting back and say, okay, let's get back to the negotiation table and figure out just what else you might need that I can actually supply for you that you can't easily go get. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, man, you got to treat all this stuff like a business interaction, man. You know what I mean? It's not about beating somebody to fucking submission and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to be. You can find that, okay, this woman, she has her own money, she has her own this, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Yeah, but she goes home to a lonely house. You know what I mean? Every night. How about you just being a guy that she could actually just call up and talk to? Maybe that's what she's missing in her life. Somebody she could actually talk to. Someone who was impressed with her. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the space that you can actually, fill in, rather than sitting here and be like, oh, you see what happens when you put career in front of family and blah blah blah. Now look at you, and yeah, that's not really going to persuade anybody. You know what I mean? Now, guess what? You might meet this woman, this career woman, be a solid force in her life. And guess what? She might decide to leave her career and decide to do whatever, so she can spend more time with you. And then next thing you know, you have the family, you have the situation, and so on and so forth. There's always ways to negotiate situations if you think about the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And if you actually just live in the moment and you don't just immediately just believe that, okay, I'm just going to use force. As men, sometimes we deter to force a little bit too much or a lot quicker than we have to. You know what I mean? Sometimes force isn't necessarily the first thing needed.
So I want to say this, read the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Don Levon. Don Levon says, exactly. Why take a woman on a $300 date when all you have to do is just get in line behind the next man? You're so romantic, Don. You're so romantic. I wanted to say, I do have a tiny issue with men saying what a woman's future is, right? What I notice it happens a lot. Your future is going to be X, Y, and Z because you did X, Y, and Z. There's this constant crystal ball that's being used on social media where it's like, this is what's going to happen. You were a porn star. This is what's going to happen. We take a look at Kareen Stephens, aka Superhead, right? The whole industry. I mean, she's writing books about whose dick she sucked and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. And there's video of her sucking dick. She was like, oh, hey, Kareen Stephens. We all know Superhead, right? This woman was later married. I'm sure she'll get married again. She's pretty fucking amazing. If you follow her on social media, very, very intelligent, okay? She has nice money too of her own. Very, very intelligent. I was actually surprised. I was like, holy fuck, Superhead is smart. Like, I thought she was just like a dick sucker. But she's very, very smart, got her own shit. She speaks at colleges, like, smart chick. She got married. But if you let social media tell it, and men who can't deal with modern women, she's gonna be, nobody's ever gonna want her. She got married. A guy put a ring on it. A guy that was well known. Why is it that men are always like pussy watching? There's pocket watching. Why are men always pussy watching? If it's not your pussy, if you don't want it, why are men constantly predicting a woman's outcome in life? What is that about? Is it an age?
It's easy. It's basic. I mean, think about it. We judge behavior. Everybody judge behavior. If somebody's a thief and they're known for being stealing shit from you, guess what? And what ends up, it's the consequences of stealing shit. Typically, people go to jail. You go to prison and serve time. You end up getting arrested. You get caught. Eventually, the crime will catch up with you, and there's a consequence for your actions. There's a consequence for every action anybody does. So knowing that there's a consequence for your actions, right? Historically, okay, sucking a lot of dick does not get you a good life in the long run. We could base that off of history and everything that we have seen up until this time, that this does not equal this, at the end of the day. Now, one, you're talking about Superhead, who is she's an outlier. She's not the average woman. She's not the girl. She is in a different category because of where she started out and how she got to where she was at. Why everybody knows her is because of, who she was sucking off. So not every woman is going to get the outcome that she did. Okay, you're sucking little Boo-Boo's head and little Bobo's head. You ain't gonna get the same status as Superhead did because she was sucking off Lil Wayne and everybody else in the industry. So by saying that, like, oh well, because look at Superhead, she did it, so all of us could do it. I was like, well, it's just like telling every guy that just because you could shoot a basket that you could play, like you could be in the NBA like Kobe Bryant, or you could be like the next LeBron James. That's not true. There's certain criterias and things that require that altered their scenario that doesn't make them average. So
like a lot of work.
Exactly. Well, a lot of work and in the right place at the right time.
So let me clarify. I'm not saying that's not what I said. I didn't say you could go suck a million dicks and your life's gonna be wonderful. But there are women, a nice handful of women that made a nice life sucking dick, went on and got married, several times. Okay.
But what is when you look at the average of that? What is the rate? What is the rate of that success?
Okay, but that's why we're having this conversation today. What you're talking about, the rate and it's because of men.
No, it's because it's not because of men. It's because of that's historically the outcome.
It's historically men. The Scarlet Letter, a man put that on a woman. Women were burnt at the stake by men, not by women.
No, by other women too. No, let's get it right. By women too.
Under the law of men, there was not one woman back in the day that made a law to burn.
No, that's right. They didn't make a law.
Letter on her. There was not one woman who made. That's right.
They didn't make the law, but they may have.
Women are still not making laws. Men are still telling women what to do with their freaking uterus to this day. So you're not going to tell me back in the day women were making laws.
I didn't say that. I said they were contributing to it. Women were also banning other women.
They had to follow their husbands. Like, yeah, she's a hoe. Of course they follow.
Who do you think does more slut shaming, men or women?
Men.
No.
Men. And women follow suit.
Nope. Women slut shame more than anybody else.
Men do it more. Men started it since the beginning of time. Matter of fact,
I'm asking you who started it. I said, who do you think does it more?
They do it more. They do it. Of course, they do it more.
Women do it.
They do it more.
Women do it more.
I want to add something.
When was the last time you called a man a hoe? Let's test this. When was the last time you called a man a hoe? Because you said hoe a couple times here already, referring to women. When was the last time you called a man a hoe, Glenn?
I call people hoes all the time.
Okay, but you've been up here and you've only been calling women hoes. Men do it more. Men call women hoes. Men do not slut shame more.
Women slut shame more. Women slut shame more than yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, when you here's a perfect example. Let's say Ish was with his wife or girlfriend, whoever, right? And some attractive woman walks in a low-cut shirt. First thing Ish's woman's gonna say to him is like, look at her. Look at the way she's dressed. Look how she's dressing like a hoe.
Now, can I respond?
That's women slut shaming women.
Let me say why she's gonna say that to Ish. She's gonna say that to Ish because she knows it turns men off to think that a woman is a hoe. So what the woman is using, what the woman is using is the man's Bible. Okay, had it not been for men putting that on women, that woman wouldn't be able to use that against that woman. Okay, to turn Ish off to her.
I just told you that women slut shame more.
Bible. She's following the man's Bible.
Why is that even known? It's like you're trying to remove the fact that like history and facts and statistics don't play a role in things. If a woman is very promiscuous, it is proven that she's going to have a problem with X, meaning being a good person to pair bond and have a life with.
But now you're changing the subject.
No, I'm not. I'm saying, so if you're saying that's the man's Bible, that is what we know. That's what we know to be
in the book of Genesis. It's Genesis, right? To my Bible people, because I don't know a fuck about
I mean, I know them all. So which one?
Okay, so the book of Genesis, the story starts. That bitch ain't shit. In the book of Genesis,
why did you say that?
That bitch ain't shit.
That's
why the fucking world is ruined. Are we gonna deny that? And who wrote the Bible? Men.
What verse are you referring to?
She's talking about Eve taking the fruit.
And they made sure that the very first story human beings are exposed to is women ain't shit. That bitch was in the Garden of Eden, and had it not been for her listening to that devil, Adam would be fine. In the fucking bestseller of all time, the very first
actually, that's actually not what it says. I mean, it is what
that
people
is how
it's a funny joke.
It doesn't matter how it's said. That is how it's understood, to the point where even today they're like, oh, she's an Eve. Even today, it doesn't matter how it was written and how it's the interpretation of it is women ain't shit. Had it not been for her giving him the fucking banana, the world would be fucking now.
And Jen,
Jen, can I ask you a question?
Hold on, wait. Hold up. Okay, just give me 1 second because we're on this part. Jen, don't. Not to mention that a woman comes off of a man's rib. So
that's the first story.
I got a funny joke for that.
The story of man and women. This bitch ain't shit but a rib, and then we give her life, and she fucks up the life we gave her. That's the story in layman's terms. That's the story. I'm just gonna reply to Damien. Damien said Corinne has been divorced multiple times. So have we, Damien. And we don't suck dick on camera. So have we, Damien. We've been divorced multiple times too. So try again. Like divorce.
Jen, tell me what you think about
we've all been divorced.
But doesn't her divorce reflect the point that is being made about pair bonding, which means that a woman who's promiscuous has a difficulty being a solid partner for a long-term relationship.
It doesn't prove it. Here's why. Are you divorced?
Yes.
Glenn, are you divorced?
Yeah.
No, Saint, have you ever been divorced?
Yeah, I had a starter wife.
Okay. So I've been divorced. Damien has been divorced. So what you're saying is none of us can pair bond.
No, that's not what I said.
No, well, let me say this.
You're twisting.
I married hoes.
I made the
mistake of marrying hoes. So that's why
right. Sure.
See, you're twisting.
The woman's fault again.
You're twisting the narrative. You're twisting the narrative.
I'm not twisting the narrative.
Yeah, you are.
And I'm staying on point.
No, you're not, because you're saying that
if divorce means you can't pair bond, then none of you motherfuckers can.
That's not what divorce means, though. That's not what divorce means.
What does divorce mean?
He's saying promiscuity affects pair bonding because of the brain, because of the endorphins and the chemicals in the brain, and how that affects the sex.
I heard what he said. I was responding to you, Ish. You said Corinne Stevens' divorce was proof that she can't pair bond. And I said, then none of us can pair bond then. Then none of us can. You've
Except
been
for Penguin. Penguin's pair bond.
No Saint been divorced. Glenn been divorced. Bunch of motherfuckers in the chat been divorced. I guess none of us can pair bond. Nobody can pair bond.
There may be truth in that the aspect of having a promiscuous lifestyle affects male and female pair bonding. I don't deny that truth.
Adam and Eve couldn't pair bond.
Hey, well, I want to break the guy down with the headphones on wanted to say something, and we didn't.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Reese. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, so you say the story of humanity starts off, bitches ain't shit, right?
My question
is this. That first man that wrote that story, what did
Was
he
an asshole.
observe? What did he observe to make him the first thing he writes down is bitches ain't shit? What did he observe? He had the only way. See, these things come from events that happen. This is how stereotypes come to be. We get mad at them, but every stereotype ever written is all true. I'll run fast and jump high.
There's truth in it.
They're all true. They're all true. Every last one of them. And,
no, they're not all true.
Well, I'll agree with you. Yeah, not all of them, but most have like will make you say
exaggerated truths.
Yeah, right.
At their core, exaggerated truths.
Right, but there's a little bit of truth in there that makes you say,
I agree with that. I've said that. Yeah, there's stereotypes, absolutely.
And it makes you say, But when you look at that story, it makes you wonder, what did that man see to start it off like that? Because that is kind of devastating that you blame the fall of man on a fucking woman. He must have observed something, man. Something happened to make these things unfold and become this way.
But you know what, Reese?
Yeah.
But you know what, Reese? That's a great question. But you know how I see it too? All it takes one motherfucker to experience something, and we see it even today in 2020. It takes one motherfucker to experience something, man or woman, and then they will go on a tirade for the rest of their lives. Women is it, men is this. No, motherfucker, that's what happened to you.
Exactly.
But can we agree on this though? Like, hookup culture is what it is. It's here to stay. But there are dangers in it that all of the adults on the panel, I'm sure, will agree. And society, the culture of society would be better if we went the couple route versus hookup culture. That's just my opinion. And I'm old, so I remember when it was like that back in the day and the world was a better place. It kind of looks kind of crazy to me now. You know what I mean? And I've been studying porn and stuff, and there's some things in there that I don't like, man.
For research,
the naked bodies and everything is cool. But if you look at the titles and what they're doing to your psyche, everything is incest or some type of rape or teen this. And pay attention to what we're looking at when we're looking at it. You dig? Because it's more than just the positions that we're learning and the euphoria, the Kama Sutra or whatever. You dig? It's some underlying evil in it.
I can agree with
some of that. Hookup culture has that same type of stain on it. Like, I've benefited from hookup culture all my life. I've been single my whole life. I could write a fucking book on hookup culture. You know what I mean? That would make these red pill niggas sweat. For real. I'm just an old man with daughters, so I look at hookup culture differently. That's all I'm saying.
I would say that when we, in response to the statement that hookup culture is here to stay, I would say that that's not actually the truth. We found that there have been many cultures, many societies that have had a hookup culture period, and then there was an act, a group, a religion, whatever it was, that came in and said, this is becoming too detrimental to our social construct, and we have to change the conditions. That has happened across the world through this current recorded time. So to say that something's here to stay, I think is not really a true factual statement. It's just, this is the conditions and the environment, and we can judge how successful that type of lifestyle is when you look at other cultures that have lived that type of experience and how those societies eventually crumbled. So there's a dynamic.
Hey, do y'all know that my bad.
1 second.
No, go ahead, God.
I got trouble hearing you. Coming in late. Yo, do y'all know that this got worse after HIV? I'm old. I'm pre-HIV. So
what did you say?
This hookup culture got worse after the hookup culture in America got worse after HIV. Isn't that crazy? Think about that for a second.
No, yeah. I understand what you're saying, but it was there. Okay, I'm going to bring it back. The 70s was a big time hookup culture. Then AIDS hit and it died down because of AIDS. And now pretty much you can live with AIDS.
Bad, though. It wasn't public.
But AIDS isn't a death sentence like it used to be. You got stuff that suppresses AIDS now to where you can't even detect it or pass it on. So, it's almost like the clap.
No, well, actually, yeah. No saying is correct. I mean, this is if you really start thinking about it. Once AIDS Once people weren't dying from AIDS left and right, motherfuckers started taking off their condoms again. This is some real shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like,
I want to ask Ish something.
It's Magic Johnson's fault.
You said throughout history, there's been this, I'm paraphrasing, this flood of righteousness that stopped people from fucking throughout history and time. When was the last one? I'm just curious. When was the last one? When was the last one that stopped people from hooking up and fucking who they? When was the last one in this country?
Well, I mean, the last one, I would say probably, you know, the rise of Catholicism. When if you talk about the last one, in the fall of Rome. But prior to that,
I think the Eskimos went through something too.
In the Middle East, you had a period that was called the Jalaliya, which was the day of
you see
ignorance.
You see how you ignored what I said? I said
no. I answered it. You said when?
No, we live here. I said America. We live here. We're not in Rome.
Oh, but we're in the midst of. Okay, and I didn't understand your question then, but I'm saying we're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of it. So we haven't had this rise of this kind of social revolution that's going to possibly shift the paradigm. I'm giving historical references.
No,
we're steeped in it.
We live here. What happened in Rome doesn't mean anything to us. We live here.
Well, we had a chance, but Kevin
But
Samuels
it's an
is
example.
dead.
It's an example of human behavior.
I know, but
it's an example of human behavior.
But we're different cultures also. We're different cultures. America is very, very unique. It is a melting pot. We got Muslims, Christians. This isn't a country 500 years ago where most of the population was, you know, religious in one way. This is America, okay?
Well,
sweethearts. Wait, let me finish. Our sweethearts are Kim Kardashian, a soft porn star. She is at the top of the list, okay, of all the women. She gets all the credit, all the magazines, everything. It's different here. So I'm asking about here. I'm just asking about this is where we live. I'm not asking about Rome. So with that said, do you think that with so many different religions, so many different laws, such a corrupt government, I mean, we had Trump as a president. If that doesn't tell you what kind of country this is, I don't know what does. What do you think? I'm just asking you. You could hypothetical. What do you think is going to happen in America where everybody's going to put their dick away?
They got to give us a new disease where you literally die after you fuck. Like you fuck and you die right afterwards. You bust a nut, you croak. You Kevin Samuels every time. That would slow shit down a little bit. Outside of that, nothing.
That would be
Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy said you stick your dick in and your dick blows up. That'll be
it will never slow down because the women are in control of it right now. Let me tell you niggas something, man.
I just think that
I have been passed around. Go ahead.
I think that in answer to your question, I think when the moral fabric of this country becomes so gratuitously out of control, there's going to be those that say enough is enough, and generally, dissatisfaction brings about change.
And who are those?
So even
those who gets to say, who gets
to be men.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
What men?
Yeah, I mean, it could be men, it could be women. I mean,
Christian nationalists.
It comes from a collective of people who are dissatisfied and choose to take an action and make more of the action than those who are just passively participating in the process.
Okay, but it's not just, here's the thing about this country though, it's not just passive participation. There's a lot of money in hoeing in this country. There's a lot of money in it. This isn't Rome. This is a lot of fucking money in sex, drugs, and rock and roll in America.
There was a lot of
billions.
There was a lot of money in slavery, and at a certain point, dissatisfaction with that whole process changed the laws and the whole state of the country. So wait.
Let's tell the whole story. Let's also be mindful that the rise of the uptick of slave rebellions had something to do with that. So they
That's
had to
but
rewrite
see
a few
that
things.
again. That's
Let's.
another dynamic.
But
That's another
my whole
dynamic.
point is
I'm
this,
in
brother.
agreement with you.
My whole point is this, brother. By stating that, you're also stating that you're also keeping in mind that we were physically more capable of going to war with them in those scenarios, and a lot of slave masters and plantations, they were getting burned down. They were losing. These are a lot. So I mean, a lot of the change that happened came out of fear of losing complete control. So a lot of things had to be written,
Yo, a lot
revisited,
of
and so
people
on
think
and so forth.
technology. A lot of
But
people think
technology
I'm
is
not
a
technology
saying
factor
rules
in
it.
that.
What
this.
do y'all think about that?
I'm not saying the issue. You're wrong. I'm just saying let's
No.
also mention that as well.
That's an added. I'm in agreement with you. That's an added component, but it was also the added component of technology because the cotton gin
Mhm.
made it
Right.
a lot more,
Right.
a lot less profitable
Also,
to have.
yes, we can mention that as well. Yes.
Right. So again, circumstances and dynamics change the conditions of the environment. So when the moral fabric of this country, because when you're talking about promiscuity, you're talking about the breakdown of relationships, you're talking about the breakdown of families, you're talking about the breakdown of community, and the infrastructure starts to crumble when you have too much of this social maladjustment going on, that there's going to be those who say, you know what, enough is enough, and are empower themselves to make some form of change. So
And we're
that's
starting
the
to see
dynamic that
that.
we're looking at. Yes.
And we're
Yep.
starting to see
Where,
that.
Glenn? Where, Glenn?
Well, if you looked at the birth rate has been dropping significantly
Yep.
over the last generations. So people are not getting together and having children anymore. People are more, conscious of not procreating because of the way things are. Like, a lot of that has to do with it. When there are projections for certain jobs in America, like big jobs like bioengineering, like even airport traffic controllers are significantly low in their field. People they're not getting the replacement of the people retiring as much, that they're making these people stay there longer just to wait to hopefully get some new people to come in and replace them. So when you start seeing these things start taking place, people are not reproducing and not raising or having kids anymore because they're wanting to avoid issues of relationships or whatever the case is. Then that will become a detriment to society. It will be a problem.
No, let me chime in on this. It's not anything new. Look at Japan. Japan has a population problem. Why? Because they have a strong middle class and they have wealth. Europe, the European countries have it because they have a strong middle class. When you make more money, suddenly you know how expensive kids are and you want to keep a certain lifestyle. So you have less kids. That's why people that are in poverty, they usually have more kids because they need help. They need more help. My dad's family was huge because they lived on a farm. My dad's family was huge because they lived on a farm, right? So now farms are super farms. You don't need as many people. But as far as what you're saying about jobs, that's why legal immigration, bringing people in from other countries, is the solution for the United States. But by the way, just a side note, China is not, everybody talks about the rise of China. They have a real problem because their population is in decline. They're going to be, I think they said, less than 600 million by the end of the century. Because what?
They have ghost cities over there?
But they don't have a one-child rule anymore. But
what I'm saying is it has, I understand what you're saying, Glenn, but I really don't think when people are hooking up, they're are getting in relationships or hooking up, they're thinking about the problems. I just don't think the brain works that way. I think some people want relationships and children, but the reason the population is going down is not for those reasons. It's for exactly what I'm saying. I had a number of kids, what I felt I could afford, and keep a decent lifestyle, right? Keep the same, at least keep the lifestyle I grew up with. So the rich countries are the ones that have less population. The ones in poverty have plenty of babies.
But no, saying you're talking what you mentioned right there. You said you having kids that are not exceeding kids that will take away from your lifestyle. The first thing is that you got in a relationship. So you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to look at it like people are avoiding relationships. That's why the population is in a decline. You know, people are avoiding they don't want to go through the court systems no more. You know, guys don't want to put up with the child support and stuff like that. So more men now are getting vasectomies than there were before in history.
Well, shit, somebody send the memo to the athletes and Nick Cannon.
Yeah. Well, Nick Cannon is trying to.
Kids would abandon. Everybody can get some.
Nick Cannon wants to have a football team. That's what he wants. He wants to have his own team. He's gonna buy some new franchise. It's gonna be called the Cannons, and all his kids are gonna be playing on that team. That's all it's gonna be. But
the irony. The Cannons.
I want to acknowledge Don Levin's comment. Call me pessimistic, but this is how I feel as well. Don Levin says, seriously, this country is not going back to any traditional standards. So either move on or move out. I cannot see if you are counting on women to put an apron back on, leave their 6-7 figure jobs, have babies for you, stay barefoot. It is not happening. So I don't care what falls out the sky, what Christian national, it doesn't matter. Women are not going back traditionally. And if women aren't going back traditionally, ain't a fuck a man's going to be able to do about it.
That's right.
I would like to say something. I'd like to say something. At the end of the day, this is about power and control. But we must also look at the fact that men have put themselves in this situation. Men had an ace in the hole, which is financial dependence.
Absolutely.
They had an ace in the hole. They had financial dependence over women. They had a lot of power and control. And what did they do? They let that shit out of their hand. So, okay, we'll give them a bank account. Okay, we'll let them get a job. Okay, we'll let them vote. We'll do blah, 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 blah. We'll give in. We'll give in into every one of their demands. Wait one second. And then when they gave them everything that they wanted, they bitched and complained that it turned into another situation. Because now, guess what? They don't need you anymore.
Wait a minute. First of all, Joanna, thank you for the super chat. Joanna says men don't want to be compared to other men in bed, and that's fair. But there are no more virgins past 18 years old. Shit, 18? Take that down to 14. I wanted to say, Haran, to you, but didn't they let women into the workforce so they can also tax their asses? Didn't they do it for the
absolutely. That's the other half of it. But the whole point of what I'm saying here is that overall they gave into their wants and their demands. So okay, you gave into all this shit. It's just a common thread with men. We give into shit when it comes to women. Adam let Eve roam around unsupervised in the fucking garden. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Samson just said, "Oh yeah, my hair is the secret to my fucking, you know what I mean, strength." She didn't even ask him. She just said he just shared the shit with her. You know what I mean? We always put ourselves into these situations. And when I say men, when I say men, I mean white men. I was in these fucking, you know what I mean, Congresses, you know what I mean, situations. Ish and I, guys who didn't look like Ish and I weren't making these laws. So this is really white men's fault. Y'all need to really sit down.
Let me give you a little bit of pushback.
Y'all need to sit down
First of all,
fix this shit, man.
First of all,
white devils,
we out here suffering, man.
Let me blame. I'll take some of the blame here for the pigment challenge people. But let me just say this: like we all know, Samson and Delilah. Delilah was bugging Samson. She was nagging. Okay, so I think you need to reread that.
Yes.
So she did ask him. She did ask him.
I just want to say that we did not have these problems back at home when we was in Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you went and started talking all this other little feminist liberation stuff, that's when we started having problems with you women. But in truth, let me just, you know, in truth, there is a dynamic to that. But I think the dynamics is this: failed leadership in relationship to as men, and when it comes to family management, when it comes to maintaining a proper household and family, is really where the dissatisfaction comes from with women who then say, I can't depend on this person who's my counterpart. I can't depend on this person to remain loyal, to remain faithful, to be financially sound, to take on the air of responsibilities while I cook, clean, maintain the children, deal with all these other dynamics. So you know what? I'm a disconnect, and I'm going to deal with self. And that's a sign of failed leadership. Men have to be men. You have to. So if your staff, as a CEO of a company, if your staff turns around and says, we can't depend on our boss to be responsible for this dynamic or that dynamic, and they start going off the rails and start doing their own thing, that is a failure in leadership. So that means that as a CEO of your family, when your wife says, I want a divorce, I want to go find solace somewhere else, that's a failure in your leadership as the CEO of the family. When you instill the confidence with the woman in relationship to maintaining, providing security, financial management, the whole nine, then you will find a happy home, a solid family where children are looking to your guidance and support. So I think the responsibility falls upon male, and it's the white man's fault ultimately in his construct in this society. I always got to bring that ball right back. I
think the part of it's true, but like it's what it is like they're blaming if one man does something wrong, or one generation of men do something wrong, and they change, and then the women change their behavior and address the one person or the one group of generation that was wrong. That's one thing. But what's being taught is now like all men are this way. All of you have to be this way because all men are this way. When we speak in absolutes, then that's the problem. Again, what we're having a generation of guys that failed. No. We had a generation of guys that failed, right? Bad leadership, whatever you want to call it. I could agree to some of that. I also think that, there's a lot of other things that played a role into that, into where we're at now, but that's a whole different conversation. But when we think about this, is like you have a fault here, but now you're going to blame everything with the penis for the future for that same fault. And that is society. That's what society is doing in general, because we're still young kids that are now like they're in Australia. They made young boys stand up and apologize for sexual assault from people from the past. These young boys did not commit these crimes, but they made them all stand up on Women's March Day or whatever and apologize for sexual assault. And it's like, why are you making them be accountable for shit that they didn't even do? And it's like that mentality is what is being preached, in society, is that we're holding this gender responsible for everything. And this is the problem, is like, yes, there's accountability that needs to be addressed, but that's on both sides. That has to be on both sides of the coin. And nobody wants to do that. They want to just point one way, and it's fine if one person was only the reason responsible, but that's not the case.
But I would say this.
Hold on. Please hit that like button for me. I see a lot more people lurking and watching than I see. That like button for me. If you're not going to hit me off with a super chat, hit the like. You got to support somehow. This is entertaining, is it not? I also want to read people that are supporting. Thank you, Fahim Jackson, for the super chat. He says, there's always been a world of sex culture in America. In the past, people had private parties, side pieces, open marriages. They weren't as cavalier in conversation, and there was a code system. I agree with that 100%, because now everybody's out in the open. Women that were ashamed of selling their bodies are posting their OnlyFans in their bio on public platforms. Everybody is out loud and proud. Everybody is sexually fluid. This is way, way worse than the sexual revolution in the 70s where it was free love. Everybody's out and fucking now. And no one's ashamed of it anymore. That's why I don't see it going backwards. I just don't, but my opinion.
Oh, it's never going to go backwards. It's never going to go backwards. For the guys that think that they're going to get the 1950s wife, in a little apron, making a pie for you every time you get home from work, that shit ain't happening. Okay, that's not.
Hey, I would do that if you're paying all the fucking bills. I'll bake you a fucking pie.
But the majority of women don't want that.
Well, all right.
That's never going to happen. So the guys clinging to that, need to wake up and stop holding to something that
okay,
is never going to repeat itself.
Well, I don't want it to go back to the 1950s.
No, I
For
agree.
obvious reasons. So, yeah, let's stick to that.
Well, let me say something though. I agree that if we stay in a decent, well-to-do country, it won't go backwards. Being broke as a country, in a society, will bring a lot of things back out of necessity. So I'm not saying socially in the mindset we'll get back to where women stay in the kitchen, but I mean, if there was something that happened, and let's just say we balkanize in the United States, and Louisiana, being one of the poorer states, would automatically be a third world country. A lot of things would change. You wouldn't have enough jobs to go around. So it could go back to certain things, but I don't think willfully it would go back. Another thing I want to bring up is everybody on here, and including me, we sit there. First of all, we think there's a set of Jen and I, since we don't have these I don't know who else on here. I think Haran said he was an atheist, that don't have a belief in a higher power. So I realized that,
Me too.
Okay, so these rules were kind of made up. I mean, all these rules were made up. So there is no set. I mean, I'm not saying some things can't be tweaked and be better, but it is sort of interesting that we think there's a set of rules that make relationships better somehow. Just because it's been that way, that's what we were born into. But somebody made these rules up. Somebody said, this is the way to go, yeah, I just find it fascinating. I hear, because I hear you and I hear Ish and I hear, well, it used to be like this. So yeah, but somebody else made that up. It wasn't something like they knew something better. And then when you talk about how things were back in the 50s, it's because women had to stay in the kitchen and they didn't compete and they didn't really have a choice. So there was rules put on that made it that way. It wasn't like this is the best way to do it. I'm not saying what's going on now is best either. I'm just saying it's different.
Well, what I'm saying is nobody put rules. It's just repetitive actions, and you see what happens when certain things are repeated. Like, you probably wouldn't get with somebody that you married her and then she cheated on you and had 4 kids by them. You wouldn't continue to stay with her. Why? Because you see that this is not working out for you, and it hasn't worked out for other people in the past. So when there's behavior, it's not necessarily people put rules. It's just like we look at things and you see, oh, if this situation happens, this is tend to be the overall outcome. So it doesn't really work out when things. So it's not a rule. It's just like, oh shit, it's kind of like history repeating itself. People don't realize that history does repeat itself. The stuff that we're dealing with now is nothing new. It's stuff that's been dealt with from other nations and other times in society. It's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing that we do now is something that never was done before. Okay, it's all the same shit. It's just that each culture and society has addressed that shit differently. They have addressed it and adapted to it differently. What's wrong now is that the majority of people are trying to cling to an old rule or old playbook, a belief system that no longer is upheld, is no longer considered valued. And guys need to adapt to that. And by way of adapting to that may also mean the way that they approach women changes. All right. So then women need to get rid of some of the old rules that they're holding on to, as well as the guys, because women are still holding on to clinging to some rules. Don't think that they're not. They're still clinging to some rules from the past and expecting guys to do certain things based off of these old rules. But if they're changing the rules now for the future moving forward, then you got to discard all the rules and create all new rules. Don't hold on to some that benefit you and discard the ones that don't benefit you. That's the thing that we're seeing here. That's the problem, is that they want to hold rules to guys according to some older belief system because that's how things the way they were. But then again, discard the rules that guys want to uphold. No, if either all old rules are gone or they stay. You don't get to just pick and choose which ones that benefit you.
So I want to address these 2 comments because there's 2 good comments in the chat. Javier Colon says, but if the rules go against human nature, it doesn't work. I agree with that 100% because there's a lot of shit religion says that's completely against human nature. And that's why people do it any fucking way, which creates hypocrites in religion. So if you have a rule and it's against human nature, like the tradition of marriage, and people are not built for marriage, you get 50% divorce rate. Also, atheist said, which is, I think this is absolutely absurd. I don't know what planet he's on, but he said, Jen, why are so many women unhappy compared to your previous women before you? The women before me were fucking miserable. They had to put up with whatever men did because they didn't have income. There was damn near no fucking running water. Whatever a man did, they had to tolerate. They weren't able to work outside the home. They were literally baby making machines. The women today are way happier than the women back in the day. My mother was happier than my grandmother. I'm happier than my mother was, and it's going on and on and on. The women today are happier than the women in the past. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Pew Research, because they did a poll on that from generations, it seems where he's getting that from, and I understand where he's getting that from. There is a result that says that women from previous generations were less stressed out and had less concern, like concerns, than they do now, because they were not the ones having to worry about the finances so much. They didn't have to have a focus on a career. They got to focus on the things that that were not as important for their survival than they were nowadays. So yeah, more women today are more stressed out, more frustrated, or more stressed from work, and have a lot more responsibilities and stuff. And from that test that he's mentioning, or if that's what he's referring to, yeah, that could indicate that women today are less happy because they're having all this additional stress and other factors that they didn't have to have as the previous generations did. So
but inflation is beating everybody's ass. I don't know. Yeah. Inflation, men too. Men are committing suicide at a ridiculous rate. Okay. So inflation's beating everybody's ass. But I don't know any modern women that would say, I want to give up my home, my car, my everything that I can do on my own so I could sit somewhere and have babies for this motherfucker just so I don't pay bills.
No, what it is they want people want best of both worlds. See, it's like they want to be able to have their money, they want to be able to make their thing, but they also want all the benefits from the guy that the guy brings and not have to pay their bills and stuff. But again, they also don't want to give them the authority to dictate the relationship and how things are supposed to move in that family. It's like, we want best of both worlds, and guys want the same thing too, right? Guys want to be able to smash all the bitches in the world and not have to worry about child support. It's like it's accountability factor when you look at it across the board. It's people don't want to be accountable of their actions. If you are a guy that has Nick Cannon status and you have 11 plus babies and you're all on child support, you can't bitch about all these bitches ain't shit. All they do is try to take my money. Well, you keep on sticking your dick in bitches that want to take your money. All right, you keep on reproducing and you don't practice safe sex. That's your consequence. Women who have tons of body counts and they're mad, they're saying that guys don't want us, guys are being an asshole because they don't want to wife us up when we have 1,000 bodies, but they could have 1,000 bodies and it's supposed to be okay. Well, because it just shows that it's not a good bet in life for them. It's not a good investment for them to make. So people are trying to avoid the consequences of their actions or their statements, and that is the problem. It's accountability is the issue. The lack of it is the issue.
I agree with.
Well, I would also agree with that on one aspect, but I would also, again, you have to blame leadership. If there's a problem within the culture, you have to blame the leaders of that culture. And until we address that issue,
and that's part of accountability.
What's defining, right? Well, I agree. But what the problem is what defines manhood? Does defining manhood mean that you can have sex with a bunch of women, drink a lot of alcohol, and you're walking around with some muscles? Does that define manhood? And that's where I believe the one aspect of the problematic dynamic is in relationship to this culture and the society that we're existing under. That does not define manhood. That doesn't define masculinity. That just says that you can be an alcoholic and that you can be a whore and you can punch somebody in the face. And since we don't have a sense of real true identity of what manhood is, are you a builder in society? Are you, be able to manage a productive family? Are you able to control the environment of your community? Which is aspects of what really should be defining manhood. Then that's why we're having the problems that we're having in relationships. And when they even with the studies, when they say about promiscuity, because the men are creating the promiscuity, the men are creating the hordes. It's like Frankenstein being mad at his monster. Like, you created this monster. You created being led by your dick from the age of 14 to 15, running around trying to stick it in everything that's moving, produce this dynamic of what we're dealing with. So you can't be mad at a monster that we've actually created because we haven't exercised a discipline of being able to interact with women beyond just utilizing them as sexual devices. So the byproduct of that, of promiscuity, is depression. There's studies that show that promiscuity produces loneliness and depression in men and women. And there's a series of studies that have been done.
Yep.
From Denver, in Denver at Denver University, to a number of others that reflect that when it does, the byproduct of something is based upon the effect of it. So if we say, okay, there's no problem with promiscuity, unplanned parenthood, emotional depression, is on a rise, all those dynamics, then there seems to be a problem with how we're functioning in this society.
So let me say this. First of all, please hit that like button if you want to support the show. Super chat, okay, on the right side, the bottom half of the chat box, super chat, or send me a cash app on the block with Jen. That was my commercial. I do want to say this. My opinion is it was more damaging for men wanting to be equal to women than it was for women wanting to be equal to men. And I don't care who gets mad, because today men want to be equal to women. That's how I see it. But women wanting to be equal, quote unquote, to men wasn't as damaging as the man bitches that we have running around today. I think that's more damaging because of what Ish said, that men are supposed to lead. Men are supposed to be the leaders. We following y'all. We are following y'all. Even in under the umbrella of promiscuity or being a hoe, we following y'all. Like Ish just said, y'all want to throw your dick around with abandon. Women are like, okay, let's go. But we're following y'all. In every society, women follow men. So y'all dropped the ball.
Well, I'll agree with Ish on some of what he was saying. But I don't know if it's okay. If you're saying promiscuity as in that's all they want to do is be promiscuous, and that leads to depression, I would say it leads to depression because in general, people are people need people. In other words, what do you call it? We're what kind of creature are we? We social. We're a social creature. So yeah, I think not everybody, but a majority of people like company, like having a relationship, a steady relationship. Some. Many, I would say. So in that sense, I think you're right. Like if you're a guy that is going around, sleeping around, and then you come home and, it's empty and you don't have anything to show, you're sitting there and you're watching Sports Center or something, you're depressed. I get that. But if you're promiscuous and yet you have an active social life, they're probably not depressed. So, it's complicated. I get where you're coming from, though. I mean, I think you have some valid points.
To have an active social life, if you still come home to a dark apartment, or if you have an active social life where you're sleeping with somebody just for the factor of addressing a biological need, and then you don't want to spend more time with that individual because they don't provide you any other sustenance emotionally or mentally, then that's just as bad. That's where you have the individuals as the old man at the club. He's sitting up there looking to stick his dick into women, and just younger now, who are much more vulnerable and much more impressionable, and then still having to come back to not having somebody that's a peer or a companion or a partner or addresses that social need that we need as social beings. So it ultimately, again, men have to address boys and men. That's the bottom line. And with this whole confusion in manosphere, in relationship to what defines manhood, and that's what this is a part of, quote unquote, this confused revolution that I'm talking about. There are people grabbing at straws now, trying to figure out, because they see that there's a problem, but they're now being led by individuals who have no good intention in the process. They're just seeing an opportunity to profiteer, ergo a Kevin Samuels. Oh, that's the problem. It's the women that's the problem. It's like, yeah, they're women, that's the problem. Like that's no, that's not the problem. The problem is that the structure in our social construct is imbalanced, and it needs to be realigned. And it has to take individuals with conviction and some sort of moral compass that sits down and says, this is the line, and this has to be addressed. Because nobody wants their daughter to be slutted out down the street.
Can we acknowledge Tristan's comment? Because it is a fucking fact. Okay, we can say the same for incels who aren't getting any. Incels aren't promiscuous, and they depressed and miserable and bitter as fuck.
Yeah.
So then what's the difference? The promiscuous person getting all the dick and pussy is depressed, and the motherfucker who's not getting dick and pussy is depressed. So can we just roundabout say motherfuckers get depressed?
But it's not saying that one. It's not saying like only people that are getting a whole bunch of dick and ass are getting depressed. It's not just saying depression only affects one group. I mean, you can get depressed a lot of different ways.
Okay, because it sounds a little silly to me. Like, I'm getting a lot of sex and I have a social life, but I'm still depressed. So that means the whole world is depressed, no matter what the fuck they do. If we're gonna say that.
Well, I think that's a great point. I think
incels are depressed. Everybody's depressed. I got depression. Everybody got it.
And Tristan made a great point, though. He made a great point. Basically, he's saying that you're alone in your apartment, whether you're getting sex or not, you're depressed. And I guess that comes back to the whole social thing. So I think, and I don't know, Jen, if you believe this or not, but don't you think that, and I kind of what your show's going about, I think that it's the men. I don't know if women are as much depressed as the men are depressed. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe women are depressed too.
I mean, it's a study. It's a study nonetheless, and it was done with men and women. So obviously, they compiled it based upon that and took that into consideration. But again, what Tristan is talking about is a valuable point, because again, if the goal always to deal with a woman is just to get some, then you're going to be depressed, because you're limiting your engagement and interaction with another human being. That's not the end goal. That's a byproduct of a relationship. That's not the end goal, to just get some, because once you get it, then you don't want to have anything to do with that individual. And that's a point that I brought up before, is we don't know how to choose our partnership. And that's why even in certain social constructs in other societies, like Jen brought up earlier, that you have elders who sit down and say, no, this is the partner you should choose. This is how you should choose a partner. This is the things that you should look for. This family construct that they come from, that how this woman was reared, how this young man was reared, all these other dynamics, how they were educated, and that's the flaw of American society.
I was just talking about that. I said, relationships prior to had more influence with the family. The family was more involved. The mother, the father, the uncles, they were more involved in vetting and helping you pick a proper mate than it was nowadays. Now it's just like, oh, so-and-so got so-and-so. Okay, well, hopefully they make it work. Hopefully they're happy. Like there's no, the parents and family are not involved in the selection process anymore. And I think that, that's a huge problem. But I want to point out that you guys did say something. Yes, accountability does fall on the men. Men led, men failed. Absolutely. That needs to be addressed 100%. But if the new order of things is saying that we are 50-50, we are both equally responsible, we are both equally have the power to make whatever decisions that we make and choose, we are both this, okay, then if that's the new standard, then everybody has to be equally accountable. And that's the problem. It's that people do not want to be equally accountable. If this is the new standard that you guys are going to be moving forward with, then guess what? everybody needs to be equally accountable for the things that take place.
Glenn, that's a great point. I want to respond to that. Thank you, House of Matrix, for the super chat. He says, Jen, I love your show because we get to have real and unapologetic conversations. Every show keeps getting better. Salute to you, sir. Thank you for that. Glenn, that's a great point. Everybody must evolve. The problem is with that, I feel that innately women want a partner. If she wants a male partner, she wants him to be stronger, smarter, more productive than she is innately. We even with modern times, we still want a man to be more than us, so to speak. So how is that going to work? The 50-50 is never going to work.
Exactly, because that's the problem. It never works. That's the issue. We need to stop saying that we're 50-50. We're not equal. Like there's things that you could do that I can't do biologically. There's things that you do great at that I don't do great at. That doesn't mean we're 50-50. I could bench more than you. Does that mean you're just as strong as I am? Like it doesn't make sense. This whole 50-50 thing is stupid. We're not equal. Okay, but we're equal in value. We're not equal in abilities, but we're equal in value. And people start thinking like, oh no, we're equal in everything. No, we're not. And people need to realize like that's the problem. Stop with this egalitarian mindset. If women want men to lead, then men need to lead. Okay, but that also means men have to be given the authority to lead. You can't have somebody be responsible. See, there's a difference between responsibility and, power. Okay, but typically whoever has the power is supposed to be responsible for that power. But if you do not, if everybody has 50-50 power and nobody has more power than the other, but one party is still responsible for the other person's party or the other person's power, that doesn't make it right. That's the issue. If we're going to have this egalitarian 50-50 thing, then everybody has to be equally accountable for all things. And see, that's the problem. We want to talk about like men doing wrong or men's, promiscuity or men created this. Yes, that's right. True. But that doesn't necessarily mean that anybody that does it afterwards, just because this person does it, doesn't mean you get to avoid the consequences from that action. It's like if I go and kill somebody because I saw somebody kill somebody, and that means I get away with it because they got away with it? No. That's what I'm saying. That's the issue.
I would say this in relationship to that, and I got to jump, gang, but it comes down to this. We have to, it's not somebody giving us the authority. It's not somebody, leadership is not given. Confidence is built around leadership. So the men have to start evolving a society that reinstates the confidence that women will be willing to naturally do what's in their nature. So there has
Absolutely.
to be a collective body of men that turn around and say, you know what? Every kid in high school, this is what we're doing from this point on. Every kid, in middle school, this is what we're doing from this point on. We're going to the legislature. We're going to whatever has to be done and has to take a stand in the community and say, this is the point. And whether there is a pushback or disagreement or whatsoever, it's just like when the school had a problem with the children's behavior, and a bunch of fathers then came into that school and started being the security versus hiring some schmo off the street to monitor their children. The fathers in that were able to spend time on the campus changed the atmosphere of the entire campus. So
Absolutely.
It falls back. Women don't have to give us permission. We have to be the example of what they desire, and that permission will automatically be granted. I see it happen.
Yes,
even
I
in
agree
the
with
nation, even in the nation, in our infrastructure, when the brothers are not on point, the sisters have the option to call and say, these brothers ain't securing the sisterhood. They're not opening up the doors. They're not carrying things. And there's an infrastructure that says what we promise, we're not delivering. And there's somebody that says, you know what, y'all need to get it together because we're getting a lot of calls from the sisters and y'all not on point, and that's not what we're supposed to be about. And
see,
that
the problem
changes the environment in a smaller aspect.
The problem with that issue, and I know you're about to dip, but I want to get your response on this, is that, do you have kids?
Yes, I have 4.
Okay. Now, according to you, you probably do right by your kids, right? But have your kids ever acted out on, broke a rule or did something that you told them not to do, right? And they had their own reason for it, right? Did you discipline them? There was a consequence for their actions, right? See, that's part of the problem, is that there's a lack of consequence for actions on both sides. So if we got to address the accountability issue, if a woman is making bad mating decisions and she's reproducing and the guy says, you know what, I don't want to get with that, that is the consequence of her bad decisions that she made prior. She cannot be awarded a free pass and not have to deal with that because she didn't want to, she did with that. It's just like the girls that are overweight and they get mad at guys liking girls that look like Jen, right? Well, you're mad at guys liking girls like Jen. Why? Because you're not that? Because you didn't meet that standard? No, it has to be standards. That's the thing. If there has to be accountability for actions, and people do not want to face that. And primarily when it comes to promiscuity right now, okay, it's women don't want to be accountable for having a bad sexual past. If that's the case, they don't want their sexual past to be considered negative against them. But society and time has proven that when there's a high sense of promiscuity in women, she doesn't make good for a lifetime partner, a pair bond person.
But it has to fall on the men. There's a high promiscuity
there's
from
part
the
of
men
it.
that's
Part of it, yes.
accepted.
No, but see, what you're doing by doing that is you're saying that she is not a free-thinking individual that could come up to her own decisions and conclude her own truth and what she wants to do moving forward. You are removing the responsibility from her and saying that she's being forced to do that because a man did it. I'm sorry, that's not the case, because everybody has the choice. She's free thinking, she has a mind, she could create her own decisions based off what she chooses.
Yeah, but we're also the more aggressive and physical aggressive individuals as men, and we are the drivers of this society currently at this point, and they're under our governorship to a degree. So
not now.
Yes.
Not now.
Shit. All right.
I mean,
with that, with that, hey, I gotta go. I gotta go get my child, y'all.
This is fucking getting good. I gotta go too.
Daycare is calling. I'll try to come back. Give me a few minutes. I gotta grab the baby.
No, I gotta go too. I got a dinner meeting at fucking 7:30 cross town, and this was getting good.
Let's do a part 2. Let's just do a part 2. Let's do a part 2.
Part 2 tomorrow.
Jen,
I feel like I'm gonna get back at 10 p.m. Tony, you hella long-winded. We cannot do you right now.
Tony could do the whole part 2. just start part 2 and let Tony just talk for the whole goddamn time.
Hi, Ish. All right, part 2. Do you guys want to do that late tonight or tomorrow, same time as today?
Tomorrow, tomorrow. I have like 3 podcasts I'm on tomorrow, so it would be hard for me to do that tomorrow.
Today, I'm good today.
Tonight, later tonight, that'll be doable.
I'll be back maybe, I think, no later than 10 my time. That's PST. That's late for East Coast.
Oh, I'll be knocked out. What you talking about?
Glenn, you got 3 podcasts. You can't fit me in big time?
I mean, I got 3 of them starting from 10:30 all the way until like 6 or something at night.
Busy white man right now. He ain't got no time for you.
4 o'clock tomorrow. You're busy. Our time, 4 o'clock. You're busy.
Yeah, I've one tomorrow at 4. I'm in it I have one at 10:30. Then I have another one it goes 10:30 to 12:30. Then I got one at like 1.
So what about my regular time, 6 o'clock tomorrow?
That might be doable. I just gotta see how burnt out I am, because I'm not gonna be sitting here for 8 hours.
Man.
You can't leave Ish. Listen, you can't. That thing between you and Ish, we can't leave that shit. We could table it.
We'll table it. Hit me up and I'll let you know.
All right, so everybody watching, please hit that like and subscribe. I have to run to a dinner meeting. Tomorrow, be here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 9 p.m. for East Coast. There's still so much more I want to fucking say about the subject. This was the topic. We still did not get into our men coping badly with modern women. I still want to get into this, and I still want to get advice from the men for other men. We didn't even get to that. So please come back mañana at 6 o'clock, and then we're gonna segue into Sexy Saturday, because
I did say something. I said guys need to discard the old rules that they've been taught and adapt to the new rules. That's the way that guys fix this issue. Okay,
but we gotta break down the rules though. Tomorrow we'll break them down. We got to break down the rules. So tomorrow, guys, we'll do that. We'll pick up for this part 2, and then we'll segue into Sexy Saturday. Whoever can stay for Sexy Saturday. All right, guys. I am out. I love you all. I'm sorry I gotta run.
Night.
Good night, guys. If you're still here for any reason, please hit that like and subscribe and be here tomorrow. Set your reminders. I'll put the StreamYard link up so you can set your reminders. Be back tomorrow and be ready to cam up. We will continue this tomorrow. This conversation is fucking awesome. I love my panel, and this is why. If you enjoyed, hit that like and subscribe, and thank you for your support. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm out.